Now, it was 2 years ago that I heard my guest today for the very first time. Although I didn't quite hear her, I thought it was Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera and Julie Andrews. An unlikely mix, I know. By the time that Celine Dion and Liza Minnelli had joined in, I really should have clocked exactly what was going on, but instead I was listening to an American actress, singer and impressionist. She's over here in London at the moment doing a show called Party of One at the Hippodrome Casino. You can find out more information at the end of the video. I spoke to her on Twitter about 3 months ago after playing one of her songs here on the station, and she was lovely enough to let us go and speak to her live up in London. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back and relax as we speak to the lovely Christina Bianco. Okay, so after being born in New York and obviously attending the Tisch School of Arts as well, do you think you were always meant for the stage and the limelight?
Meant for and determined to do it are two different things. I never wanted to do anything else. It's one of those sort of cliche stories you hear with the little girl who hopped up on a table at a restaurant and belted out a song with nobody asking her to do it. That kid was me. I always wanted to perform, and my parents were really supportive from a young age, and they gave me the opportunities to do that, either in just classes to learn and to sort of test the waters a little bit. And then when I said, yeah, I want to audition for this play and that, they were really good about preparing me and taking me to the auditions, and the rest is history. I never really stopped. Once I got on the bandwagon, I just was there the whole time.
You got caught.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing. So when did you first realise that you wanted to be an actress and a singer? You said obviously from a little girl, but was it something that was always there? Or?
Well, it started, and I will say it really always started with singing for me. It always started with music. I mean, I really do like to remind people, particularly people that are only watching me on the internet, singing that, and I'm an actor. I mean, I went to school for acting. I've done it my whole life, really, but it's very hard when people ask you to pick. And I've now realized, well, just because my first love was music and singing, if I had to pick, I would say yes. I guess I couldn't live without singing, and that's what started it for me. And that, the musical movies, of course, movie musicals like The Sound of Music and The Wizard of Oz and Mary Poppins. I was captivated by them, and lots of kids were. But I wanted to be everybody in the movie, not just the lead, everybody. I would act out the whole thing. I always was a character actress, I think. Ingenue's got a little boring after a while. I always wanted to play a father or something. But I would act it all out, and I just really wanted to have the experience of being in a show with the costumes and the lights, and it was just something it came as a really natural thought to me, it was, and living so close to New York City, I was able to, from a young age, see a lot of theater and also go see concerts and cabarets, and so the live entertainment world was accessible to me, and I took advantage of it.
That's fantastic. So talking about New York, actually, you moved very nicely on to
Sure.
the next question. So have you got any sort of
I did that just for
places? Very nice. That's beautifully done. Is there anywhere in New York that really has a sort of special place for you? Any theatres or anything like that? It's a tricky question, I know.
There are a lot of places I have great memories with in New York. I mean, I think that the big, beautiful Gershwin Theater, it's probably the largest Broadway theater we have. When I was 11 years old, I was in the Broadway show Raffi on Broadway, the children's singer Raffi. You got to look that one up. He's wonderful, but a little older now.
Well, of course.
But Raffi on Broadway, they auditioned all these kids, and there was going to be a choir, and only a few kids had solos, and I was one of those kids. And to see my name in a Broadway playbill, and it was always the Gershwin Theater on top of that, and my parents were in the audience. I'll never forget my parents just being there in the audience, and I was on a Broadway stage. So I love the Gershwin Theater. I'd love to get there now, but of course it's quite held up with I believe it's Wicked, so let's work on that. But it's been this really just wonderful thing, walking past it every day and being like, that sort of started it for me. The other place, it's a place I did my very first solo show, which was Birdland. Birdland Jazz Club in New York is of course known for jazz, but they've always just sort of embraced and celebrated the theater and the Broadway community. And so on Mondays, they call it Musical Mondays at Birdland, and they ask a lot of Broadway, celebrities and to do cabarets, little concerts. That's kind of a bigger scale. The room is quite large, seats about 200, and so it's sort of it's a little more daunting as saying, I'm doing a cabaret, little joint. It's a little bit daunting. And they approached me when I was doing Forbidden Broadway, so we really would love you to do a show. Do you want to put one together? And so the very first show I ever put together was called Diva Moments, and I did it for Birdland. and it's really been a home away from home. For me now, when I come to London, I love playing the Hippodrome because it was the first place that I ever played here, and so for me in New York, that place is Birdland. It's beautiful.
So in terms, obviously, we're talking about the impressions. We'll be talking about that later on. In terms of acting, though, who is it that really inspires you?
Oh gosh, there are so many actors that I love for many, many different reasons. The first I'm going to say is probably going to sound cliche, but it would be Cate Blanchett. I love her, and I like to always say that I found the actors before anybody else. I mean, I think I saw a lot of things that Cate wasn't particularly known for in the U.S. before she sort of blew up there. I remember seeing her in a movie called Oscar and Lucinda with Ralph Fiennes that I probably shouldn't have been watching at the age that I was watching it. I just thought, this woman is unbelievable. I love her because she's so versatile, and you see her in a role and you forget you're watching her. I love it when you can get lost in a performer like that. And then, of course, I was an original Balehead, Christian Bale. He is such a phenomenal actor to me. I just love the way he transforms himself for each role. So he's an actor I just adore. And I guess a lot of the comedic actors, because people forget, I think it has to be all about the drama. I love Carol Burnett, an American just icon. And Bette Midler, of course. I really, really have to say how much Bette Midler has influenced me, because she's had a career that I would just love to have, and I'm trying to have a career like hers. I really am. She is known, for being a concert performer and sort of having one-woman shows, and she can captivate an audience like that. She's also a wonderful dramatic actress, and she's received acclaim for doing that, plus a recording artist, and people always think she's a comedian, and she's not a stand-up comedian. She's just a really good comedic actress. So to me, she's someone to look to.
In terms of that, it is very nicely linking. In terms of that, obviously, we know you for your singing, we know you from your impressions, the YouTube sensation that came after you on the Ellen DeGeneres show and everything. But when it comes to other sort of acting genres and things like that, would you like to build your repertoire? What other things would you like to go for? What do you think you could see yourself doing?
Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, I really want to do as much as I can. I mean, I remember going to school at NYU, Tisch School of the Arts, and of course my focus at the time was musical theater, because you had to pick a focus, and it made sense, that would be my focus. And of course I went to the TV and film studio as well. I skipped the experimental theater wing. I didn't think that was for me, but I really wanted to come here. I really wanted to go to RADA. And I wanted to take all of the classics and study the Shakespeare courses. I always wanted to do that. And that's something that I did a lot of in college, and once I left college, particularly I find it difficult for theater actors. If you've built a lot of work in musical theater, people are reluctant to hire you in straight plays, and often, not always, are often reluctant to hire you in straight plays, or particularly classics or Shakespeare of any kind. So it's a challenge to sort of show people that you can do that as well. So I would really love to add that.
Do some other things.
Yeah.
Now, you just finished a 3-month run in a show back in the States, application pending at the West Side Theatre in New York.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about it.
Oh gosh, now this play was just a blessing, but so hard. So in the show, I am me, one actor, and I play 40 different characters throughout the course of the show, and I don't leave the stage for 80 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it's about something that I think is also applicable here. It's about somebody who's her first day at the job, head of admissions at a very prestigious primary school, and all of the parents that are calling like crazy to make sure their kids are getting in. At least in America, in a lot of circles, it's astounding what the cost is to get your children into those schools, and it's just as hard, if not harder, than getting into a lot of colleges. So the cast of characters that could ring is quite interesting, and then I had to deal with my other employees and also trying to hold my own life together, and so the combination was a show that was really fun, really, really hard to do though, 8 shows a week, because if I messed up one line, I just ruined my own cue. And so if I messed up what was next, I could have ended the show in 15 minutes.
That could have been interesting.
A lot of the characters call more than once.
Okay.
So I'm answering phones the whole time. It's very much like the play Fully Committed. So I'm answering a phone. I say, "Hi, how are you? Oh, can you help my daughter? Oh, yes, I can." It's something like that. And so if I go in my mind to the 3rd phone call of this person, I should be on the 2nd phone call. Yeah, I could have hypothetically ended the show earlier. Luckily, that never happened. But the fear was in me every show that I might do that.
I bet it was.
It was quite difficult. It was a challenge to speak that long. We had to choreograph into the show 2 times where I drank water. And it was, the director really wanted it at a very quick pace. So I would be ending a phone call with one person while the phone was ringing with the next. The admissions, and then think, wait, who is that? I don't even think. But you have to keep going. It was really a runaway train. And so I'm very blessed, though. The show was well received. I was really blessed to get some good reviews, and now an award nomination for it. So it was a short run, but it sure left an impact in a really good way.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, actually, so you've been nominated for a Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Solo Performance. How did that feel?
It felt really good. You know, and the nice thing about the Drama Desk Awards in New York, I mean, they're the Tony Awards, everyone knows. Yeah. And right underneath it, I'd say the next sort of prestigious award is the Drama Desk Award. And the great thing about that award is that it honors Broadway and off-Broadway, and in the same category. So I was nominated once before for Forbidden Broadway, and it was for supporting actress in a musical, which was really great because I was up against people like Stockard Channing and these huge celebrities. It was really cool. And this time I'd say it's extra special because it was a different show. It didn't get a lot. It wasn't a big, high profile show. So to get attention for it is really nice. But also because it's a different category, because it's not a musical. I have to say I'm very proud of that. There was no singing, and it was nice to be recognized for acting.
Yeah, I bet it was. So in terms of, obviously you mentioned Forbidden Broadway there, and you did that over in America, and then you came over and did that here for a little while on the West End, the Vaudeville. What drew you to London? You say you love the place. What do you love about it?
A few things drew me to London. Definitely not the weather today. And actually the weather today's pretty good.
It's not too bad, actually.
No, it's not too bad. I've always been an Anglophile. I mean, in the true sense, I've said this before, but it's really true. When all the kids were rushing home from school to watch the American sitcoms like Full House, I don't know if you got that over here, I would run and watch Ab Fab and a bit of Fry and Laurie. I mean, I went out of my way to get a lot of the stuff, and it wasn't always accessible. And once I got into college, though, there was this store, I think it's still around, on St. Mark's called Kim's Video, and they had all these sections, all these international sections. And so I would watch all these movies that had not been released here in the US. I don't know, something about British humor I always really liked. And I always happened to be that a lot of my favorite actors or musicians were British, and so I'd always wanted to come. And I think, the grass is always greener. I've talked to a lot of my friends that are West End performers here, and they all sort of think, oh my God, Broadway. And I think it's just goes without saying, it's the exact reverse in New York. People are like, oh, the West End, they can be so much more creative there, or it's so much better there. I mean, and I just think there's always a desire to know more about the other, and we sort of glorify it. But I'm happy to say that when I came and I actually got to be here, it really lived up to expectation. It was wonderful.
We're happy to have you.
I'm just a fan of all things British. What can I say?
It's lovely.
Yeah.
No, it's funny enough, though, I wouldn't have thought that as well. I would have thought that actually the West End would have been sort of like inferior to Broadway.
No, not at all.
No,
not at all. Not working on it for me, but also in seeing the productions. It's amazing. I mean, I could tell you blessings of the New York theater scene, but as we're here, I'll tell you the blessings of this one. I would say you have a wider array of options here. If you want to go see theater in New York, you have off-Broadway, which is really prestigious, and you have Broadway, the big one. And when something is smaller, like off-Broadway, this or that, it doesn't mean it's lesser quality, but they're smaller houses, and they're not really brought to your attention. You have to look to find them. But here, you have 3 theaters that are not West End theaters that get so much attention and do some of the best productions in the world, like National Theater, the Donmar Warehouse, and the Meunier Chocolate Factory. We don't have the equivalent to those theaters in New York. We have them around the United States, but they're 6-hour flights away, and you can't really just say, oh, I'm going to hop on a plane and go see that production at La Jolla. You can't do that.
Not so easy.
So so I like the accessibility of the wider array of theatrical options here.
Whole different menu.
Yeah.
So in terms of Forbidden Broadway, obviously you've done that over in America, and then you came and did it over here. What drew you to that particularly?
That was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I was always singing in different styles and different genres, and I remember my mom always saying to me, honey, don't sing it like the recording, sing it like you. because I would sort of inadvertently, I talk about this in my show, I would inadvertently sort of take on the tone of whoever was singing. Not trying to sound like them, but if you're going to sing country, you're not going to sing it like Judy Garland. You're going to sing it like Reba McEntire, so you're going to have twang. You know, and so I would apply that. If you're going to sing Annie, you're not going to sing that like a soprano, you know. Yeah. So I sometimes took that a little too far in matching my voice to the other, you know, whoever was singing. Obviously, I got older and I really found my own voice and all, but people kept saying, well, you take direction very well, or you're very good at, your voice is very flexible, or, you know, if I want you to sound more pinny, you do that. And music directors would be very happy that I could take that direction. And I had watched the show Forbidden Broadway as a kid. I had all the cast albums. I loved it. It's a very small cast, 2 guys, 2 girls. And so when I finally got to an age where I thought I might be right for the show, I thought, well, you know, I'm not going to get it or anything, because there are all these great impressionists, and the show's been running 20-odd years. They have a list this long, and whenever there are going to be auditions, I'm not even going to be able to go. Well, they had an open call through the union. And so, like everybody else, I woke up really early in the morning, and I waited online with my equity card, and I went in for the Forbidden Broadway audition. And they even said, you know, future replacements. Like, they weren't really in a position to even fill a slot, really.
Oh, I see.
But I guess all of my years of listening to it paid off, because I just went in there and I had a really good audition, and they brought me in again, and then they said, we want you to do the New York production. I thought they were going to put me on the road or something first, so I got really, really lucky.
That's a lot of prestige.
But I do think, I do feel like it was meant to be. I always loved the show, and at that point in my career, I was sort of struggling with people saying, well, are you a belter? Are you a soprano? Are you an ingenue? Are you comic relief sidekick? And I got to be all of it in that show.
Very
so
special.
it really came at the right time for me.
Sounds very, very good. We have a question in from Naomi, who is a listener. Thank you very much for that one,
Hi,
Naomi. Are there any other roles that you would consider on the West End?
Currently or in general? I want to play a million roles. Wouldn't we all?
All of them.
There's a whole list. All of them. I've always... well, I would love to be in Wicked, of course.
Yeah.
I think every girl... I mean, I love to play both parts, but I've always sort of had a soft spot for Glinda. That's currently running. I would love to do the show that everybody knows and loves here, but it's lesser known in the U.S., is Little Voice, of course, because that's a beautiful show where you get to, you know, someone like me, we get to showcase my impressions, but in a more dramatic light. And also, obviously, it's a great dramatic role to sink your teeth into, so I'd love to do Little Voice. The brassy New Yorker in me is still dying to play Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl. I would love to do that, really. And a little show that not many people, I think, here know about anymore, Once Upon a Mattress. It's right up my alley. I'd love to do that show. So, yeah. Any West End theaters available? I'm ready for you.
She's here.
Ready.
Okay. You never know who's going to be watching this one.
Never know.
I think it's about time we talk about the impressions.
All right.
Okay, now, I know, this is the bit where it gets serious now. So, a couple of years ago was the first time I heard you, and it was through the impressions. You were on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and 20 million YouTube hits. Stints in the US and the UK since then. When did you first start experimenting with impressions?
It really was Forbidden Broadway. I mimicked voices my whole life, but I never thought of it as, oh, I'm doing an impression of this person. I would make friends laugh doing a teacher and say, oh, they just, you know, and they laugh. But only when I saw that breakdown for Forbidden Broadway, I said, you can do this. You can, you know, maybe not sound exactly like the person, but you know, I think you know how to change your voice enough to give the character of that particular celebrity. And it started that simply. It was about 7 years ago now that I did that for the auditions at Forbidden Broadway. And let me tell you, once you're cast as someone who's doing impressions, and then you're fortunate enough to be reviewed and reviewed well for doing impressions, then you have a little more confidence. You start thinking of yourself as, oh, maybe I can do this. Let me take this a little more seriously. Okay, let's see. And I tested myself a lot. I wanted to try new impressions all the time, and that was just for me. But then people kept asking me to come perform places, and can you sing a number? And it'd be great if you could throw in some impressions. We love that if you don't mind. And I would always just give it a shot and give myself a challenge. And I started doing these sort of mashups where I take one song and sing it as multiple people. And I think the first time I ever posted it online was me singing The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow at the Friars Club in New York. It's a terrible quality video. My husband was on the side filming it. But that sort of overnight got like 100,000 views or something.
Wow.
And I, only posted videos for my parents, so I was sort of like, what? That's pretty cool, And I realized slowly but surely there was really an audience for this sort of thing. So I put some videos up and I performed. The notion of going viral was nowhere in my head. I mean, viral to me is videos like I don't know if you know it, like Charlie Bit My Finger and all that stuff. Like to me, so going viral singing was certainly not on my radar. I didn't think that's going to happen one day. I'll be on Ellen. You just don't think that. Sorry, you don't think that. But it was just amazing to know that something I sort of started very innocently turned into something that's now my calling card. It's weird. Yeah.
That must have been a big surprise, actually, seeing that.
It was.
What was your reaction when you found that? I can't imagine what it must be like.
You sort of, because it happens so quickly.
Yeah. And
because it can disappear so quickly, it's not something that I took seriously instantaneously. It was sort of like, oh my god, it's getting a lot of hits. It's pretty cool. Wow. Thinking tomorrow it won't get any.
Yeah.
And it kept going up, and then I remember seeing it took this. I remember this I sent the link to my parents. I was like, uh-oh, this is pretty cool now. And it was somebody on, I think it was ABC News, and it was an anchor, like a nice businessman, looking with a suit, who clearly knew nothing about me or entertainment. And it was only online, but it was a special feature online. And he says something like, like, lots of people have different voices, but this girl can sing like all of them. And he's talking about me like, New Yorker Christina Bianco. And I'm like, oh, I didn't do an interview. Like, what's happening? And it was really weird to see someone do a feature on me because of the video. I had no idea it was happening. I just saw my name pop up on Google. It was insane. And that's when I thought, this is getting pretty intense. And then I work with management in New York, and they get a lot of my inquiries, and they said that their inbox was flooded from people wanting me to sing at their child's bar mitzvah, to like serious, really cool offers, to lots of people reaching out to ask things. I mean, it's just amazing how quickly things just started changing for me. And then it becomes, well, what's going to last? How do you make certain bits of it last? And what do you want to do with this? And the nicest thing that happened was people sort of said, oh, well, this happened in live performance. The Total Eclipse of the Heart video was live performance. She's live performer. Do you do live shows? Well, yes, I do. I have it ready to go.
Shows?
So the nice thing was because I'd been in this business for so long, and because I already had my own material, my own shows, I was ready to sort of jump on the opportunity. I was here at the Hippodrome. I didn't have a YouTube video that went massively viral, and I thought, well, I'll do one show. We'll schedule 2, we'll probably cancel it. But at least I'll just have played London, and I'll see what it's like and meet some people. And the video of me singing Total Eclipse of the Heart went viral as these tickets were on sale, and they sold out the 2 shows, and then they added 2 more, and those sold out.
Incredible.
So now, yeah, it's amazing to think that now it'll be my 3rd time back here. And I certainly don't expect all 7 of my shows to sell out here, but it's just an honor that they've entrusted me with that and that they want to be here for that long. So I'm just so grateful to everybody, particularly here in the UK, for being so loyal. It's wonderful.
Well, we love you over here. We really, really do. So in terms of new voices, obviously you've added new voices in the past. They've sort of slowly filtered through and we've seen them. What does it take for you to develop a new voice? Because obviously you've got the voice and the gestures and everything. Right. How long does it take you? How do you do that?
To develop, to pick the people, for me is partially what I know I can physically and vocally do, but a lot of it is there are sometimes very famous people that don't really have very distinct voices. So I have to go, who do I think is going to read? Yeah. Who do I think is you're going to hear it and get it, hopefully, instantly. So picking the people is difficult, but typically the people I'm picking have some sort of quirk to them, something that I can exaggerate a little bit. So, and that's what I start with. When I start working on an impression, I usually start with the caricature version of it. Kristen Chenoweth obviously has a very high-pitched voice, so I went full helium zone. Okay, now that I have this, how do I make it more realistic? And then you sort of pull that down. And, Liza Minnelli's a lot of sound effects. She's a lot of laughing, and then you build the nuance around that. So for me, I start broad, and I try to rein it in once I have those stereotypes, because I know that's what the audience will get. Yes. But then I want to make it as accurate as I can.
And that's the good thing, actually, watching some of the videos that you've got on YouTube, obviously. Sometimes you'll have an announcer who will say the names of the people.
Right.
But then sometimes you don't, and you can still tell who they are.
Thank you. I mean, I'm actually quite surprised. I think people think I only do it with people shouting out names. Those happened to be the 2 videos that really went viral.
Yeah.
But I very often, I prefer to not have to shout out names, but sometimes the pace of the song goes so quickly, you need someone to do it. Or I've decided to put 30 into a song. It gets difficult. I want to look at a list that sort of takes away from the show. So it's, what I like is the switching quickly. I find a lot of humor in that. A lot of fun for me. And it's a challenge. I like to challenge myself. And I find that the audience obviously appreciates that, which is good. Not to say there's not something fabulous about doing one song as one person. Like, I could sing a whole song as Celine Dion, I would love it. But I don't know if that's as interesting to the audience. So if I do that, I pepper it throughout what I'm doing. Yeah, I think it's the challenge for me is to not tell the audience who I'm doing and have them know who it is, which is different from venue to venue. It's different, obviously, from country to country, and also age groups. I mean, I'm really blessed that a lot of grandparents like my stuff as much as their grandchildren, because I do people like Judy Garland and Shirley Bassey and even Edith Piaf, you know. But and then I do Idina Menzel and Britney Spears, who's not even young anymore. I mean, you know, the young kids know who she is, but now it's Ariana Grande, and you just have to sort of reach a wide group of people very quickly. With me, and I was like, how do you reach a wide group of people with one video? And it's really hard, and you can't really do it more than once. And every time I try, you know, there are people that say, oh my God, that's so great, I love this. And then there are people that say, it's the same thing we saw last time. And it's like, well, I'm just putting stuff out there. Not everything's going to be something for you, but it might be something for the person next to you. So it's hard, but I'm doing my best.
You're doing very, very well. In terms of new impressions as well, we have another listener question in from Jess. Thank you very much, Jess, for getting in touch. Are there any people that you have an eye on to feature in the future? Jess has suggested Taylor Swift. Would you ever try Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I can. I have a better time speaking as Taylor Swift. I made this funny, I was a part of a video that came out when the Les Mis movie came out. It's called like Les Mis Red Carpet. And I did a few seconds of Taylor Swift in that, and everybody really liked it. We said, "Well, how do you do it?" Because I felt like I really needed the wig and the whole thing to pull it off. Her singing voice, to me, is not that distinct.
Yeah.
So she's not fun for me. I try to pick people I really enjoy doing, and to me, I know I have to do her. And I'm just trying to figure out the right way to present it. I don't think she's going to be effective in a mashup the way I switch voices.
You'd lose her within some of the
others. I think she'd get lost. So I should definitely do her. Jess, I know I should do Taylor Swift, and I'm gonna really do it. I have to do it. I am trying to do Jessie J, who I love, and I have that feeling. Mind you, I do so many singers that I completely idolize. So this is not saying I don't love the other singers, but I do think like, oh yeah, you're gonna do Jessie J. Like, who do you think you are? Because she's so good. But I'm gonna try to do her. You'll hear a little Jessie J in my new show.
Oh, that's amazing.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it to get better at it. Yeah, and Ariana, I've dabbled in Ariana. I had to bring her back and do some more of her. But you know, I do find it's harder with the new, younger celebrities, the singers. It's harder to impersonate them because on their albums and on their singles that are on the radio, they're always so overproduced, and they often change the voice and have that sort of auto-tuney sound, and it's so heavily produced that you almost can't find their voice within it. And you say, okay, I'll watch a live clip, but then they're singing on top of themselves from the recording and the live clip. So it's harder for me to find voices that are more distinct, but I'm looking.
You'll find some.
I'll find some.
I'm very excited about the Jessie J.
Yeah.
Big fan as well. And in terms of your favourite ones to perform, now I've got a feeling I can probably guess one of them. Celine Dion.
Yes.
Which is my favourite one as
well. She's my all-time favourite one to do.
It's amazing.
Because she gives you so much to work with. I mean, she is the greatest singer in the world. I mean, she has the greatest voice. But the thing is about her is the way that she speaks. She says that instead of that. You know, she has such a funny way of speaking. And not just her pronunciation, but her inflections. Yeah. And then, of course, she moves in very funny ways. And so I have gestures, I've got speaking impressions, and then, of course, with the singing. It's a challenge for me to sing what she sings. I love that. I love to sing it in her key if I can. I mean, that just gives me joy because I really do think she's unbelievable. Vocally, the tone of her voice is not dissimilar to mine. Yeah. So I don't have to struggle as much with an impression. I mean, where someone like Liza Minnelli is huskier, it's a little more of a strain on my voice. So doing Celine also just feels a little more free. So I can enjoy it a lot. So I just love Celine.
got the Celine impression. That's made my afternoon. I'm not going to lie. Yes. So your show, Party of One, is returning here to the Hippodrome, which is where we are today. Lovely place, by the way. I've never been here before.
I'm just going to sit here
Just
and
relax. It's so nice here. It's returning in a couple of days' time, actually, starting off. How are you feeling about being back here?
I'm so happy to be back. You know, I wanted to do a longer run of the show when I was here in September, but I booked Forbidden Broadway last time. And it worked out that I was able to do the last few days of Forbidden Broadway at the Meunier Chocolate Factory. And then when everybody had a week off before going to the vaudeville transferring, I did this show. And I just had enough time to sort of rehearse the show, get in, do the shows that we had decided were the best dates, and then, you know, get ready to do Forbidden Broadway again and go over all that. So I loved that I've done it once here already. But of course I had a lot of changes I wanted to make, and I just wanted to, I think I wanted to do it again because, not just wanting a run, but this show is really, this one's about me.
Yeah.
And it's very different than, you know, the show I did previously called Diva Moments was obviously about the divas. And so when you do a show about yourself, it's a little exciting because you just have a closeness with the material, all of it. It's just a little bit different, just a little more precious. But that could also be something that's a little scary too, because an audience member could sit there and say, well, why am I going to listen to you talk about yourself? Who are you that I want to hear you talk about yourself? So it's a fine balance between letting them into your world and making them hopefully identify with what you're talking about without throwing stuff at them. Yeah. So I just was really keen to do it again, and this time slot opened up, and they said, "Would you like to do it?" And I said yes. And
jumped at the chance.
7 shows.
7 shows.
Please come.
That'll be good.
Anyway.
I'll be there for one of them. It is going to be good. What can we expect from the show, though? You've said there are changes. What's going to be different this time? Is there more of you singing?
Yeah, you know, the thing is, I wanted to I try to have a balance of me singing 50% of the show in my own voice and 50% impressions. And so when you're telling a story, typically if I'm telling you a story and it's sort of on a tangent what we were really talking about, you would just say, "Oh, we did that, but that's another story."
Yeah.
Here, I sort of run with those little tangents, and I might give you a snippet of this song and a snippet of that and a snippet of that impression that I heard or what this teacher sounded like. So it's a little schizophrenic, if that's the right word to use. It's a little, that's not the right word to use.
I don't think what it is, yes. I can't think of that either, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Scatterbrained. It's a little scatterbrained, but get controlled. And, it's you know, it's always nice for me to sit back and look at what I did last time and fix things I thought maybe didn't work, and also see what did work and how I can make the most of it, and just really having more time to work on the show and work on the arrangements with my musical director, Joe Louis Robinson. That's really important, and so that helps build the show. There's a whole new finale, and I'm probably going to stick. We're going to see. I might stick with the same encore if I'm asked back to the stage to do an encore.
Okay.
It might be the same one as last time because it's a video. It's become a video that now got pretty popular, and I think it'd be really fun to have the audience interaction. So, yeah, it'll be different.
That'll be nice.
Exciting.
I'll be leading the encore.
All right.
It'll be fun. Oh yes. Okay then. So I'm going to give you 15 seconds to look down the camera. Let's sit together.
I'm nervous now.
No, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous.
Sitting on the couch
Spotlight's brighter. 15 seconds to try and tell the people why they should come and watch your show next week. Go on.
If you want to see a show that's like nothing else, you're going to get funny stories, you're going to get comedy, you're going to get impressions, not just singing impressions, but also you're going to get speaking impressions from Barbra Streisand, from Celine Dion, and also people like Drew Barrymore, lots of celebrities. And if you want to hear many different genres of music, come see my show. This was way longer than 15 seconds, but I'm selling it.
I'm not stopping you. Keep going. It's fine.
What else can I tell you about the show? I wear fabulous dresses. The band is really great. They're all very attractive. Yeah, come see the show.
You should come along. It's between the 14th and the 24th of May. You can find out more information at the Hippodrome Casino website, hippodromecasino.com. Tickets from £20. You can also find out more about Christina Bianco via her website. We'll put some details on the bottom screen. Christina, a huge thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
You can find out more on the website. You've been listening to Brooklyn's Radio. We'll see you again soon.